What a day yesterday. The pouring heavy rain. Unbelievable. Flash flooding in different areas, mudslides, things falling, hummingbird feeders going, alarms going off. I haven't been in the garden for almost 2 days, and this is what I found. Is this coming up in the wood chips? That's Swiss chard growing. Look at that. I didn't plant it. And look at this. Brassica plants from this one that threw seeds. So the seeds are growing from the rain. I'm listening to the birds. It's just after the rain, and you can hear the birds singing. Hi, it's Robbie from Southern California, and I'm going to do a garden tour for the middle of February. What a month. I guess there's some updates I can give on some things, and then I'll show you the garden, but you'll see it as I'm walking around because there's not a lot of changes. It's been a crazy month. You know, we had the fires a month ago, and then last night, the constant alarms on our phone that we were in flood watch. I said to Gary, it's late at night, it's dark. And they're letting us know we have potential for flooding. How do you know? And what are you supposed to do? But the alarms kept going off. So I guess we had a warning. It's kind of tough when it comes at night. Now, this is my chair garden behind me, and I haven't touched it, and it's doing fantastic. I'm getting all kinds of food out of it. Look at this. Now, for some of you that told me, 4 years ago, oh, those chairs are going to fall down and they'll be gone in 3 months. Same chairs, same totes. It is going strong. Now, with totes, you don't want to take a tote and leave it empty. I mean, eventually they'll break down and you swap them out. What do they cost? $5, $6? Go to the thrift store. I pick them up for $2 there sometimes. But the point is, it's so easy to garden with a tote. 18 gallons, you have control over your garden that is 18 gallons. And you don't have to buy a ton of soil. Soil is expensive. So it is doing fantastic. It is my favorite way to garden. Let's kind of walk around. I'll tell you what's going on. As far as I don't even want to talk about fires anymore, but you all know that the bomb squad showed up here. Well, they showed up here again recently. Gary had found some extra pieces of what we thought was the rocket, and they gave me their cards and said, if you find anything, let us know. And I didn't hear anything. And then all of a sudden they show up at our door. You need those pieces. So obviously there is an investigation going on, but they're not going to tell us anything. Yes, it was someone that tried to set a fire. So we know that a lot of them are arson. If you go back and check fires in Southern California, there are a lot of arsonists out there, fire starters. So it is horrible. Look how beautiful. I've got the clouds. I don't know, let me see if you can see behind me. We've got the clouds and the sky. Is that not gorgeous? It's so pretty. Everything is fresh and clean. It smells so good. You know, the trees are all cleaned off from all the rain. The birds are singing, the birds are in the trees. And let me tell you something. I see a lot of seeds that are now starting to grow around in the ground and in pots that I didn't plant, which means here in Southern California, we can start a lot of our vegetable plants and flowers. Now, where you are, back east, Midwest, I know you've got that horrible storm coming in that's going to be like 40 degrees below normal. That's pretty bad. You want to stay warm and don't think about it. But there is things, let me keep going. This will be a different garden tour. So you can see the chair garden back there. You can check it up on last month's. There's a barbecue Gary made me, and that holds my tools. I can walk over and show you. And then we'll get back to the seeds in a minute. We can do a whole video on that. Ask questions so I know what to make videos on. Look at that. I have scissors from the dollar store. I've got different tools and shovels and gloves and yarn in there. And tulle to cover my plants. And then behind me is the ponds. Now, the thing is, there are things that, you're not going to want to do if you're in the cold. Face it. The last thing you're thinking about is gardening. Stay warm, stay safe, so when gardening season comes, you'll be ready to do that. Now, for us here, it is different in Southern California. We're a little bit warmer at night. We've been still in the 40s. We occasionally dip down to about 38, which is still cold for ginger and turmeric and all that. But look at the weeds growing. See that? And you know what else is growing all through here? I've got tomatoes growing here. And they're growing tomatoes already. So this is a beautiful plant. It's got all kinds of little tomatoes on it. I was going to compost all this in and do zucchini. That was my goal. But this is the thing about gardening. You can change it up as you go. So obviously I'll be changing it up because the Swiss chard that's coming up in here is doing really well. The sow thistle I leave for wildlife. So for now it will stay. When it gets serious, I'm going to either have to pull it out and repot it or just let it reseed because this is all seed heads starting on top. But I actually think I'm going to leave the tomatoes. I mean, this too. I think I told you when I planted these behind me, I'm going to do watermelon in there. I was going to do watermelon. But the thing is, look at all the tomato plants. My garden is telling me something else. It says, you want to do watermelon? You're going to work your tail off to get the watermelon started and everything. You want to do tomatoes? You're already there. So what should I do? I think I'll move the thought of where I want to put watermelon. And I'm probably going to let all this go. This needs a little bit better staking. And I'll have to do that later because of the rain. So I think I'll leave that right now. I'll get a stake in there and keep this tomato plant growing. It didn't break or anything. It's just bent. We had so much wind and so much rain last night. I lost a couple hummingbird feeders. Some pots flew off the deck. Gary said all in all, everything's okay. Let's see, I found Gary this morning when he brought it in. I'll show you here what we got as far as rain. So what did we get? How much rain?
Just under 4.5 inches.
Wow, Zoe, look at the rain we got. She doesn't care. She was out in the rain. 4.5 inches?
Yep, and the 2 rains.
But no damage?
No damage.
Well, that's good. That's a lot of rain in a day. So that's how much rain we got. My onions are doing good. So I'm going to uncover them soon. I don't need them covered. This is nasturtium growing, and it's growing in with my garlic. So we'll see what happens with that. I've got more onions growing there. And then I've got some areas where it flooded. We do have a lake. It's not really a lake, it's a river. Let me turn you around. There's nothing down in the driveway. I want to get that all out. Now what happens is we're up in the hills. Even though we're still in the city, a lot of you think, well, you live out in the country. No, I live in the city, but I live on a hill. Now, there's another hill behind us. You can't really see it. No, you can't. But the rain comes off that hill, then it comes down the street, and guess where it finds? Our driveway. And then it comes down the driveway, and then this is just like a natural river runoff. Then it comes through our property and goes that way. Of course, we can redirect it a little bit because that's what everybody does. I'll tell you something. When we bought this house, whoever owned this house, it was built in 1950. Come on, they must have realized that it was coming down that way. I mean, you can see it. It has taken the driveway and just kind of disintegrated what was there. But they didn't do anything. So it would come down the driveway, and not only did it go down the hill, it also went under the house. So that cost a pretty penny to fix. We actually just fixed it. I think it was last year we finished it. We found that it was needing repair, at least the floorboards and stuff. So we had that fixed. So that is good. So if you've got water running somewhere, wherever you're living, make sure it's not running under the house or running where you don't want it. And then when you need to, you can redirect it. That's what Gary did. So there's my dog kennels. Now I haven't done anything new. We can walk over here. And I think you saw the gazebo from the windstorm that we had in January. It blew away. Gary's still repairing it. He wants to use the same one and put it back. So we'll see. But he says he's going to put it back. But there's the dog kennels. That is fantastic. I love them. Now this one I'm just starting to store. My ginger and my turmeric will be going in there just for storing until spring comes, like maybe the middle or end of spring. I'm picking turmeric. I'm eating turmeric constantly. I love it. It's like a carrot. I just eat it. And then I plant it back what I didn't want, and I put it in the dog kennel underneath where it's covered because I don't want it to be wet and cold. I want it to be slightly damp so it doesn't dry out, but not too wet where it's going to rot. And I've been taking it off the table back there. That's where am I? That's where I grow a lot of my turmeric. I grow more turmeric than ginger, and I'd like to change it up. But as far as the dog kennels, it's going to be fantastic when I get to it. When I know we have dry weather, I'm going to paint this one black because it's got 1/4-inch wire on it. The other one's got 1/4-inch wire too. That's the one that's 8. That's one dog kennel. Behind me is 2. If you want to know why it's so long, go back and check all the videos because we gain a lot of footage on that when you buy 2 of them. But the small one it's not small, it's 8 foot. It is doing fantastic. I have lettuce all the time. I'm making salads constantly. So I'm growing lettuce in there. I'm growing herbs in there. I've got flowers starting now. I've got some, I don't even know what else, the tomatoes. I didn't plant it. It came up on its own, so I'm leaving it. It actually grew in like a little shoebox. I got a great big tomato plant growing in a shoebox. So that's doing really well. Let's see, what else is doing here? The upside down planters are back there now because we moved them out of the driveway. I think I'm going to plant flowers in them. They're too small for anything. I'd rather get a dish pan. I grow a ton of stuff in dish pans. You can get them from Walmart for under $5. They're like, it's like growing in a 5-gallon bucket, except it's 4.5 gallons. And it's just easy. You can move it. You can set them up. Let me tell you something. When you're gardening in the ground, if that's what you want to do, you do what works for you. I don't care if I tell you to do something and you say, no, it doesn't work. I like it my way. You do what works for you and you will continue to garden. If somebody tells you how to garden and it doesn't work, you will give up gardening. So you have to concentrate on what is working for you and try different methods. For me, growing in totes works the best because I can plant at my pace. I can fill a container at my pace, meaning how much energy I want to put out and how much money I want to put out. You get a raised bed. Well, you'll see one in the bird garden. Let's keep walking. And you have to fill it. Just to grow one plant, you still have to fill the whole thing. At that point, it could cost you hundreds of dollars. I got to go over this. Let me step over it. Because if I'm talking to you, I may end up in the middle of it. So the point is with that, is you have to decide what's going to work for you. Oh, there's my blueberries. Remember I planted those? They're doing really good. The plant has been sitting over there for years and it finally got planted. So hopefully it's going to make it and not die back. So that's why you have to decide what works for you. If you got money and you're going to just buy a ton of potting soil and you're fine with putting out $500, $1,000 and you want to set up a big garden, go for it. I can't afford it. And most people can't. And then how big is your garden? You're going to make a small garden, a big garden? I know a lot of you grow in buckets. I grow potatoes in buckets. The easiest thing. You don't have to dig anything. I don't want to put, my stake in the ground and pull up potatoes that have been poked and everything. I plant them in buckets. I tip them upside down in my wheelbarrow, take out my potatoes, put a bunch of leaves and branches and everything back in the bucket. You go watch the videos and then replant what I'm not going to eat. And it's just a cycle of life of growing potatoes. It works really good. This is all going. This is being moved. And I'm not going to move it until the weather is better. Though, as you can see, if you've been with me for a while, a lot of it is gone now. So I am going to move a lot. A lot of it will be composted, but it's going to be nice and clear. And that's what I want. I want to give them back the driveway. And it's too much work because I have to come out here with the hose, drag it all the way down, and it only goes halfway. Then I got to do the other half on the other side of the wall because this is a really long wall. And it's a lot of work. And I figured, he may want to bring in wood chips or just another place I don't have to put that much work into it. So I kind of decided against it and decided one day, no, it's not like I'm giving up anything. I've got all the dog kennels and different gardens going. It's just that it's a garden I don't need. Now, the front yard, I'm looking at it, it's green, but I haven't done anything. So I've got the same thing. I've got a lot of greens. You saw the greens there. Now, let me tell you something. I had a squirrel eating that. I wasn't sure what it was until I saw a squirrel the other day in my garden, and they will take big collard leaves off and take it up to the top of the trees. I literally saw him. I thought, are you kidding me? I'm standing out in my garden. He's taking off the leaves. But now that I wrapped that one with tulle, see the tulle there? He hasn't touched it. Remember, your rodents don't want to touch it, and it doesn't hurt birds. That's the most important thing. All the bird netting can hurt birds. If you're not there to take them off and you go to work or you leave for the day, that's the end of the bird. So I never use bird netting. I use tulle. They can land on it, they can climb around, but they can't get into your plants. But the tulle, where did it go? There it is, the turquoise tulle. That I have the link in my description, so you have to hit underneath the video. You'll see the description. Sometimes you have to hit it twice, and then you'll see the links. You can go look at it. I've been buying them on eBay, $10 for a bolt. It's not even $10, it's under $10. You get 54 inches wide by 40 yards. You can't beat it. If you went to a fabric store, it's going to cost you about $2 a yard. And you're getting 40 yards for under $10. One bolt will probably do it for you, maybe for 2 years. And you reuse it until it gets really bad. So use it over and over. But anyways, I wrapped it around just a little piece. It was an old piece of tulle. That was the end of the squirrel. Because they have tiny, tiny little nails. And when they touch it, it kind of gets stuck. It doesn't get stuck where they can't get out. But, you know, it kind of, like if you break a nail and you touch something and it kind of snags. It kind of snags. And then what they do is they go, oh, this is a trap. And they don't want to go in it. So it works fantastic. So anyways, nothing new in the front yard. I got to watch where I walk because we got mud everywhere. Like I said, it poured 4 inches of rain last night. That's a lot of water. I'll redo my table soon because I grow a ton of stuff on there, and I never did the video last year to show you how I do it. So we will get to it this spring because I love the table. And those are the dish pans that are like $4.80 something cents. They're sterilite, and I have never had one break. Now, if you're in an area where you've got a lot of hot sun, don't leave any of your totes out in the sunlight unless there's soil in it and you hit them with water as if you've got a plant in there. If you hit them with water, it will keep your plastic nice and supple, kind of like your skin drying out, and they'll be fine. But if it's empty, it will just continue to dry, and it might dry out in about a year. Those have been there for a year or two, and I've got other ones that are like 8 years old. So make sure you got soil in there, and then make sure you hit it once in a while with water. You don't have to water it all the time, but as long as the soil has a little bit of dampness, it will keep the plastic really nice. And then here, this is my beautiful ginger and turmeric. Nothing now. I've been harvesting. There's my ginger, and you can see all the ginger on the top poking up. I need to harvest some today. I think I'm gonna go make some ginger cookies. So this won't come back to life until our nights are probably about 60 degrees. That's the nights, because it really wants to be warm. The warmer, the better for ginger and turmeric. And since we're getting into the 40s and periodically in the 30s, it could rot if it stays too wet. Now, so far, everything I have harvested has been fine. There's been nothing rotten. But you've probably seen the videos. If I don't like the way it looks, I throw it back in the pot and I just grow it for next year. Because the new stuff, the stuff that's less than a year old, is beautiful and rich and clean, and it's just the skin. You can eat the skin and everything. If you wait and it's over, like going into the second year, then the skin is like a potato. It gets a little hard. You know, when you grow your own potatoes, you eat the skin. So that's why I eat the fresh and I replant the old. But I also replant new. Okay, so that's what's going on here. I think we've covered everything here. Let's go into the bird garden. No, actually, yeah, let's go into the bird garden. Oh boy, I want to finish this. It's raining. They did say it's going to rain today too. I don't think we're going to get the downpours, but I don't want to be out in the rain. Gary always says, you never put enough on. I know I'm wearing one sweatshirt and he wears like 2 and 3. In the garden here, I haven't done anything, but I wanted to show you, this is like a large raised bed. This is a trough. I love it because I have a lot in my garden that I can collect and put it in there. I'm using that soil right now and it is raining. I'm using that soil for, like a potting mix soil. But if I had to fill this, let's say I wanted to grow a tomato and maybe a zucchini on one side and plant a pepper and then plant some lettuce and parsley or different things in there, it could cost me easily $100, if not up to $200 in soil. That's why I make my own soil. keep watching me. I'm going to show you how to make soil. Is it better than what you buy? It's probably going to be the same. It's the same thing nature does. It works for us, and I don't have to put out any money, and I don't have to buy plant food. I do not buy plant fertilizer. I make my own. It is raining. So let me keep going. But the garden itself is doing the same as probably 2 weeks ago because, like I said, it's been a crazy month. The bird feeders are all wet. Most of these, here's my little umbrella. They have holes in the tray. So the seed may get wet. It looks like there's seed in there, but they actually hold it. Most of that is empty. Notice the tray's not full of water. So you want holes in your trays so the water will run out because they'll eat it wet. They love wet seed, but they don't want to eat it if it's underwater. Like, like there's water there. They don't want it underwater. They don't mind it wet. But we've been putting a lot of it. Let me show you here. We've got this clothes rack that we get from Walmart. I'm going to use it for planting a lot of plants on there. And I did videos on this, and I'll be doing more. These clothes racks are like $8. You know what? I'll go ahead and tag it so you can get them if you want, or at least look at them. So we put a lot of feeders on here, and there's a top, see? So the birds stay dry here. And then, of course, he put seed all over the ground. Yep. He said he came out here this morning, I think, and he said, you were so worried about the spice benches. He said there were 50 on the ground when he walked over here eating the seed. He tried to keep them dry is what it is. So he put the seed on the ground, and then we've got the clothes rack. This clothes rack, if you want to hang house plants, paint it up. You can decorate it, and it's fantastic. I love these. I bought like 6 of them, and I'm using some on my deck, and I've had water fountains on there, plants hanging from them, all kinds of stuff. The birds are trying to come in. They want to eat. But see, behind me, anything that's full of water, they're not going to eat the seed. They're not going to try to dip their beak underneath to get the seed. So I try to make sure most of these have holes. There's some of them that are melamine, and you can't make holes in that. So I just have to dump those out and wait till it stops raining. We are raining. It's a light rain right now, so we're okay. But the bird garden's going good. And hopefully, they said this may be the last rainstorm for a long time. Is that good? It is, and I'll tell you why. There was a lot of flooding last night, and they're just starting to evaluate how much came down. Somebody was pushed into the ocean on Pacific Coast Highway. The mud came rushing down. It was actually a fireman in a car, and it went into the ocean. He's okay. There was a lot of debris coming out from the mountains. Not even these fires that were in January, but fires that were way back last summer, because the hillsides will never, grow back that quick to hold the soil. So a lot of them let loose in a lot of areas. Now, there was nothing to the point, as far as I've heard, that have taken out houses, and that happens. Boulders and things can come down and just completely level houses. It was a big rainstorm, about 4 inches, but the point was it took all day, so it soaked a little bit into the ground, and they did get debris, and they put sandbags out and different things, K-rails and everything. So I think they had a lot of it under control, but they'll find more and more things as they go around. So I used to propagate back here, but it gets too much sun, and so I've changed. I'm not going to propagate some things. I will propagate some things, and some things I won't. Let's see, what else is there? Oh, my collard. Look at the tree collard behind me. Look how big that is. That one is probably 10 foot tall. There's 3 of them. And they're tipping, and they're tied up with yarn. It works. It works, and it's cheap. But that has just been great. And then behind me, you'll see more tree collard and papaya and everything going. So I've been working in here mainly stuff you really wouldn't see. It's like I've been removing leaves and setting up pots and moving plants around and kind of thinking what I want to propagate, which I have been propagating a lot. We can talk about seeds. I know a lot of you are not going to be growing a lot right now. If you're back east, you're still cold for another month or 2. I understand. Some of you won't be planting till May. But there are things you can grow now. I'm growing a lot of stuff on my windowsill. And you can grow them in the house. Why? Because they don't get leggy. So we have to do a whole video. Tell me what you want to grow, and I'll tell you on which plants we can plant now and which ones we can't. Because there are things you can grow, and you can propagate, and you can grow a lot of brassicas. But there's some things that people tell you to grow, and like they say, you can grow tomatoes in the house now. But here's the thing with tomatoes. If your house is too damp and you've got them in the windowsill and there's humidity, oh, it's raining, humidity getting all over your plants, it will get a little bit of like a white fuzz on it, kind of like a mildew, and that will usually end the tomato plant. But you can do peppers. Let's wrap this up because it is coming down pretty good. They did say we could get some real downpours. I'm looking for a rainbow. I don't see a rainbow because it's raining and we have a little bit of sun, see? A little bit, probably not enough. But anyways, the oranges are doing good, the tangerines, I should say, and you can see behind me, everything is doing good there. I'm going to move this. I tell you that every month. That's why I didn't want to have to tell you again, but it will be moved. This is to feed birds in and to keep hawks out and little birds safe. My papaya is doing really good. As long as we don't get too cold, I am very pleased with my papaya. And then what else do we have here? Behind me, we've got Gary's room. This is where he propagates and grows a lot of seeds. And I'm trying to see what else I can tell you about, because I figured it was more of a hello and just kind of walk through and mosey through the garden. Let's go through here. This is a place I propagate. I just set up a table under an old gazebo that's falling apart. And I've got a lot of the curly purple Russian red kale being propagated. And I don't have to do it all, but the plant was dying behind me. So I chopped it apart and then I put it in the pots and I've got a lot of it growing. So I'm really happy. I don't need a lot because all I need is a few. And then once it takes off, I can continue to propagate. Okay, now we're in the rainbow garden. Oh, do I have work to do, but I love it. This is Gary's project. He's got something coming. He said he needs to find the time, but he's been doing he's starting the weed abatement because we have to keep the property clear due to fires. And he's been working on a lot of projects. So he kind of started this and he left it, but I think he'll be getting back to it fairly soon. Here's my dog kennels behind me. This is different. I usually don't do this. I actually like to be on the other side of the camera. This is not my favorite thing. It's far from my favorite thing. I do potatoes in here and onions. These are those dish pans. Perfect. They're out in the sun. They've been out here for years. And I'm telling you that they're really good. Now, if you want a tote that's even stronger than the ones I'm using, you get the stackable black ones. And I have never had one of those break. So keep that in mind. They're about double the price, but if you're okay with the color black and you're okay with paying double the price, because these are like, I'll put the tag, they're about $7. And in case you click on it and says they're out, scroll down. I usually put the Walmart tag. I have nothing to do with Walmart, but scroll down and look through because they'll put, they'll show other ones underneath. They'll put it underneath and you'll find the totes. Sometimes they even have them cheaper if they want to get rid of certain colors. And they're $6 something. Sometimes, like I said, they're cheaper. They'll work for years. These are all the original when I planted all this stuff in here, the totes. So they're about 3 years old in the sun, 24/7, but there's no empty ones. If they're empty and there's no soil, they would dry out. But even though there's only a small amount of soil in some, it's enough to kind of keep the plastic nice. And they're all number 5s. They're safe. I've got videos on that. All your food is being stored in plastic and all these things. And, there's certain plastics you don't want to use. You don't want to go into the stores and buy things out of your automotive section, like your oil pan trays. Smell them. You can smell it's kind of a toxic-y plastic. You want something that's food grade. And food grade is considered 1, 2, 4, and 5. Those are food grade. And generally, these are usually a 2 or a 5. Now, 1 is what your water bottles come in. And yes, they got a bad rap because people used to store cases of water in the trunk of their car and drive around for months and months, and the car would get to 150, 180 degrees, and then they'd be drinking the water. Well, they can break down at about 150 degrees. We're not getting 150 degrees. If we've got our temperatures that hot, and even if it did get that hot, the soil wouldn't be that hot. But let's just say, we would have bigger problems than I don't think at 150 degrees. You'd be outside wondering, should I be eating out of my tote? We'd have lots of problems. We'd be planting on the inside and not going outside. So I'm not worried about it at all. Everything in our world is plastic, and it's good that we can use this over and over, and we know what is food grade. Go watch the video. I did the research, and you can always do your own research. But anyways, going back to this, there's the dog kennel back there. It's so easy for me to maintain. I go inside and just do my thing. Now, am I going to keep the silver tops on, or am I going to put a clear top or wire? I don't know yet. So far, it is doing so good in the winter that I don't think I would have to change it out for the summer. So right now, I went ahead on this one and had the silver top put on, except for the end, because I had all that extra footage, and I just wired it. And it's working fantastic. And then I've got the totes going in 2 different ways. See the chairs? All free chairs, painted. Most of the paint has been what they call tester paint. You can get that sometimes for 50 cents to $1 at Home Depot and Lowe's. But you can also buy them, and they're about $5. But I also found you can buy other paint for like $16 that's for plastic. So that works good too, if you want to paint your chairs. Otherwise, you can leave them whatever color they were. This is for looks. And you saw that's the rainbow garden that's about 4 years old now. And I painted all those, and I have not touched them up or painted them again. The chairs that are down in my chair garden, some of those chairs back there were painted. I can't keep track of time, but my granddaughter's, let's see, she's 25, probably 20 years ago, some of them, and they're still going strong. My daughter gave me the chairs. I had the paint. I painted them. I've never retouched them, but there it is. And then that's the irrigation tubing that's holding up the tool. You know, I love my irrigation tubing. It's so cheap, and you can configure that in, so many ways to protect your plants. I hope you can hear the birds. He's up in the tree. They're singing and singing and singing. And then let's walk over here, because we'll get into a lot of individual stuff. I'm going to go through your questions, and that really drives me to get videos that maybe you're interested in. I'll probably redo my strawberry tower. I like this. It's just a chair I found in the street, and I can turn it and harvest strawberries when they're growing. I'm not sure what kind of strawberries I'm going to plant in there. And then, of course, since we have to make drainage holes and everything, you can put pots and stuff underneath. And this is where I propagate a lot of geraniums. I just stick in pieces and forget about them with colored buckets. So when the water drains out of the tote, it goes in there. Can you catch the water, because I compost in place, and use it for plant food? Yes, but I am so crazy busy around here that I forget. And then there's mosquitoes, larvae, which is fine. I just water the plants with it. But if it's watering these buckets and I'm propagating, I don't even have to think about it. And can you use water that's got mosquito larvae in there? Of course you can. Yes, go ahead. It's plant food. Get some protein. So yes, you can. I just don't want to have to think about it and have to go check them, because it takes about 3 days for the cycle till they come out. And then I have to make sure every 3 days I'm checking the water. So right now I just do it that way, though I do have some that I do catch the water, and I do use it to water new plants or plants that are starting to produce more and will need more. There's my pizza garden behind me. I can't believe that stuff is still alive. Well, I've got my rosemary, which is a big bush. I've got my basil still growing. It must be because it's up against the house, and then my sage is in there. It's still doing pretty good. The thyme isn't doing that good. It's on the top. There's a little bit left. Let's take a look. But I'll tell you something, the thyme, I've got 2 plants in my dog kennel, and both of them are doing wonderful. So if that one doesn't make it, I can plant some more thyme out here, because it produced it, and it's still producing leaves, and I'm using it from the dog kennel back there. And then I've got my peppers. I'm kind of swinging you all over the place this way. See, I don't usually do this. This is like first time in a year. Those buckets, the colored buckets, it's like my little pepper farm. And now that we got rid of the fig tree, and I've still got to move my purple tree color that's behind me, it's going to get a lot more sunlight, and it could be a good thing. That's what I'm hoping. And I've got all these plants. I have to decide what I'm going to take out in my totes. Probably here is where I'll do watermelon, and I've done watermelon here before, and they grow fabulous. Since I can't really do it back there right now, unless I want to take out all the tomatoes that are growing, and they're doing so good, and they're throwing fruit. They're volunteers too, and volunteers are really good when it comes to tomatoes. Not on zucchini. I am growing zucchini right here, and it's not zucchini, because 90% of the zucchini you get nowadays, I've been using it, it's really good, it's covered in tulle right back here, is not true. In other words, they call it F1, where they cross-pollinated the plant. And by doing that, they said it's a stronger plant, it's better tasting, the fruit grows more uniform. They have all these excuses. I mean, it's a good excuse if that's what they are saying. But the point is, it won't grow true. And they say they have to tell you, but I've noticed they don't. I've known this for years. I had a conversation with somebody in Australia on it, probably about 4 years ago. And I said to him, you know, you can't save a lot of seeds anymore. There's even some that are horrifying I could get into, but I don't want to get into that right now. And he said they know. This was big farmers. You cannot save it, even the packets. So if you have seeds that you can save and it grows true, then you keep doing it. But if you grow something that doesn't grow right, it's not your fault. It's the way the seeds are nowadays. We're not talking GMO. That's something else. We're just talking about cross-pollination. And once they do that, it won't grow true. Even if they're heirloom, if they've been cross-pollinated, it won't grow true. It doesn't matter what it is. So anyways, now we zipped around the whole yard. It's been raining off and on. My camera's getting wet. And I think it's fine. I think we saw everything for today. And I wanted to keep this short. I have yet to figure out how to do that. But I've got a lot coming. Oh, I've got the Dollar Tree one. You need to watch that, because Dollar Tree has such great things that we can use for the garden that is so cheap. So you want to keep an eye on for that video and watch it, because I'm sure it will spark ideas for you. There's even more. I did as much as I could because it got too long. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I enjoyed this walkabout out here, and I enjoy listening to the birds. So when you see my eyes kind of watching and looking, I'm watching spice finches take off. I just watched a flycatcher take off. I've got scrub jays and different warblers and wrens. They're all over. I think they're following me. I'm not sure what they're doing, but they sing and they're just so happy, and they've got food, they've got water, they've got shelter, and that's about it. So I hope you enjoyed this. Please, if you think I didn't get to your question, you'd be surprised that I've read it. I try to get through them because there's so many, and I love your questions. So put questions, put all you want, and I read them, and then I think that's a good video, and that helps me, because a lot of times I don't even think about it. I mean, right now I'm planting seeds and doing things, and it's like, oh yeah, I should do a video on that. Look, last year for Valentine's Day, I didn't even put up the video. I made a fountain with a heart out of candy, and then I realized this year, I never did a video on that, because they're cute, even if you're gonna put it out in the summer. So I hope you enjoyed this. I've got different things growing. I'm looking at broccoli still growing back there, and there's my zucchini back there. So it's a zucchini hybrid, but it tastes good. And you know what? That thing is growing in the winter. I have yet to have zucchini grow that good in the winter outside in the elements. So I can't complain on that. Now I've got a mockingbird. So with that, have a wonderful day. Kick back if you're cold, stay warm. You don't want to get sick. You don't want to go gardening. Think about how you want to set up your garden, and this way when the time comes you'll be ready, but you can start some seeds now. How do I know that? Embarrassed to say, I still have in the house one purple cabbage still growing from last year that I never planted. So you can plant brassicas, and it's alive. You can plant brassicas, peppers. You can get your tomatoes if your house is dry, in a dry area. If not, wait, because I will tell you one thing. When it's time to plant and your season is right, your seeds practically grow overnight, your plants. And you want to look at the seeds too. And I can give you so many tips on growing tomatoes, even if you've never grown them. And I think I'm going to drag this out for another hour. So I'm going to cut this right now. Ask your questions. Do I grow eggplant? Oh yes, I grow a little bit of everything. So with that, I'm going to go check on the hummingbirds. Have a wonderful day, and don't forget to eat what you grow. And don't tell me you do this like this, because I like being behind the camera where I can maneuver around the yard and see more what I'm doing. Some of you say, oh, I like seeing you. Bye-bye, everybody.